Last year, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that race-conscious admissions policies at two of the nation's top universities were unconstitutional, ending affirmative action at colleges across the country. Harvard University, who was at the center of the case, now says there are fewer black students in this year's freshman class. Last year, first-year students identifying as African American or black made up 18% of the class. That figure dropped to 14% this year. The trend is also being seen at other top universities, including Brown University, which saw a drop from 15% to 9%. Anemona Hartocollis joins me now. She's a national reporter for the New York Times covering colleges and universities. Thanks for being with us. And in your piece in the Times, you write, this wasn't the dire numbers we were expecting, but still significant. Help us make sense of this.
Sure. We looked at more than a dozen highly selective schools, and most of them had declines in black enrollment. So it's an indication, for one thing, that they're doing something different in admissions. They have said that to comply with the Supreme Court ruling, they masked the race and ethnicity of students if they had marked it on their applications. So that is one obvious difference in their procedure.
Now, because students weren't marking it, or maybe it was blocked out, what other ways were students and are students able to sort of set their application apart? And is that why we maybe didn't see the dire predictions that some were saying we would see?
Yeah, there are other ways. The Supreme Court said it was permissible for students to write about race in their essays if it was part of the context of their lives, if they had overcome discrimination and race was a factor there. So it was possible to see race, but it appears that it wasn't as obvious to the admissions people as you might think, because some of the declines were huge, like at MIT from 15% to 5% Black students.
Well, Harvard, for its part, said it's stepping up recruitment efforts, so essentially placing people at more schools to try and encourage, also stepping up financial aid to attract a more diverse student body. Are other schools doing the same? And in your reporting, did you find any other modes to try and improve diversity? Is it making a difference? They have been using socioeconomic means primarily. They have been stepping up recruitment. So there's a consortium of schools now that have been recruiting in small towns and rural areas in the South and the Midwest. So they're trying to get as much diversity as they can in spite of the constraints. What are enrolled students telling you?
Well, it must be hard for them. We've spoken to a few, and already they say one student told me he had been racially profiled 3 years ago when he got to Harvard by another student who thought he didn't belong in the dorm. This Black student didn't belong in the dorm in the mind of this white student who threatened to call security. So already they faced some issues, and they worry that those are going to be exacerbated now that they are an even smaller minority.
Anemona Hartocollis, appreciate your reporting and appreciate you joining us.
Thanks.